I want to thank the CSL music team and our reader today. We're on week 9 already of our 12-week series on chop wood, carry water. And our topic for today is technology. Each week is independent, and so if you've missed any or want to go back and watch one again, the links to them are all out on our website at cslsoutheastla.org. So we're talking today about something that we deal with constantly. Well, at least I know I deal with technology constantly. I'm happy that you've joined us as we continue on this journey to enlightenment. And today we're looking at how we can chop wood and carry water with respect to technology. We probably all have an opinion about technology. I know I do. Did you know that technology proves the oneness of all? Think about that. Technology proves the oneness for all. And on the other hand, it creates many paradoxes for us. If we're all one, why do we feel so separate in these bodies? So today we'll be discussing how technology can be incorporated into our spirituality. And I'm going to help you remind you to do things that actually embrace using technology in your spirituality so that you could bring more insight into that higher self. Imagine the ease of life if we actually each remembered to use technology to remind us to be kinder, to be more compassionate, to help us remember to stop every once in a while, take a deep breath, and just be in gratitude for the moment. When we want to throw out technology and label it bad, perhaps it's time to remember these words of Albert Einstein. When you always do what you have always done, you always get what you always got. More about that in a minute. But first, your question for the week. What is the one choice that you can make today to use technology to enhance your spiritual practice? To see yourself as an explorer with answers coming from your heart. And to use technology wisely for the environment. One more time. What is the one choice you can make today to use technology to enhance your spiritual practice, to see yourself as an explorer with answers coming from your heart, and to use technology wisely for the environment? The last few weeks I've been suggesting that we use things like work and health and healing and play as a spiritual practice. And I suspect you don't think I'm going to say that we use technology as a spiritual practice. And if you're thinking that, well, you would be wrong. We can't escape technology. It's a part of our everyday life. And thus there must be a way to actually use technology to expand our spirituality. Being a former geek, okay, once a geek, always a geek? Anyway, through the years, I've developed ways to use technology to help me to focus more on my spiritual practices and on the things that I think are important in life, like love and kindness and compassion, gratitude. I'll give you some specific ways later, but I bet you never thought about the fact that technology finds its roots in God. Yep, that's what I said. Technology finds its roots in God. How? God is the creator. God created the universe, the earth, everything on the earth, and the wisdom that it takes to develop new technology comes from God. So in Genesis, we read that we've been created in the image of God, meaning in general that you resemble God and I resemble God, and everything, every person on the planet is an expression of the divine. So new technology is being developed every day, and old technology is being improved upon. So we must recognize that it all traces back to God. God is the creator. God is the sustainer of everything. God is in everything. Just like our opening song says, God's in everything. So admittedly, we trust in God, not in technology. And as many of you have already probably discovered in your life, be you a geek or not, technology is a mixed bag of blessings and curses. On the one hand, it's solved numerous problems around the world. It's helped us develop cures for many diseases. It's improved the quality of our life for billions of people. And on the other hand, technology has been used to inflict pain and suffering, and it can lead to unintended consequences. In the Bible, we read some of the earlier ways in which God actually instilled creativity for men to build temples at a time when these grand things weren't even thought about. I imagine their expertise seemed as inventive as some of our technology does today. Here's what we read in Exodus 35, 31 to 32. And he has filled him with the Spirit of God, with skill, with intelligence, with knowledge, and with all craftsmanship, to devise artistic designs, to work in gold and silver and bronze. He has filled them with skill to do every sort of work done by an engraver, or by a designer, or by an embroiderer in blue and purple and scarlet yarns, and fine twined linen, or by a weaver, by any sort of workman or skilled designer. For me, technology often becomes a spiritual practice, one that I don't schedule all the time, and it creeps up on me, and sometimes when I least expect it or I have the least amount of patience. Let me ask you something. How do you feel when your internet goes down, or when you're using a document and trying to send an email, and all of a sudden your computer locks up? For those of us who spend a lot of time on our devices, be it computers or our phones or our Kindles, it seems we're given many opportunities to learn patience, to learn acceptance, to gently recognize that life is more about human connections than it is about computer connections. And I am the first to say that when my Sunday deadline is rapidly approaching and things aren't going very well with my devices, it can be very frustrating. I admit acceptance is not always my first choice, even though I do know that all is in divine order. And I know I say that a lot. A congregant who is not too savvy with technology wrote this affirmation, which I think is great. Technology is my friend. I think if we look at technology as something else from the knowledge that God created, we could all accept that affirmation. I love this section in the book about the Rubiks Cube and its analogy to life. As Fields put it, to solve the puzzle of the Rubiks Cube, one must accept a very important rule. An answer to a problem on one face of life may cause untold havoc elsewhere. Any solution has to be a total solution, acknowledging every facet of life. In a word, wholeness. Wow, isn't that the truth? We try to work on one area of our life and somehow other areas of our life seem to start falling apart or get out of sync. Has that ever happened to you? It's so true that any solution has to be an acknowledgement of all of who we are. Every facet of our life. our complete wholeness. Field goes on to say that most of the Rubiks Cube's champions were 17 and under. And I think that that actually gives us some hope for the future, because those kids are learning that a solution involves a total solution. Let's hope that they learn to apply that to the rest of their lives. So how do we conquer using technology and not allowing other parts of communication and the environment to be destroyed? How do we look at technology with the Rubiks Cube solution in mind? A solution that looks at all aspects of our world. Fields talks a lot about epistemology. Now, frankly, I had to look up the word to discover that it's the theory of knowledge, the philosophical study of the nature, origin, and limits of human knowledge, and in essence is the investigation of what distinguishes justified belief from opinion. Greg Bateson wrote this: epistemology is always inevitably personal. The point of the probe is always in the heart of the explorer. What is my answer to the question of the nature of knowing? I surrender to the belief that my knowing is a small part of a wider integrated knowing that knits the entire biosphere of creation. Bateson is absolutely right. Whether the issue is technology or some other pertinent question of the time, each of us must probe our hearts and answer from the wisdom within ourselves. We must each surrender to that knowledge that we have, that we are part of the one life that's God's life, and thus have a wider integrated knowledge and a wisdom that is part of the tapestry of all of life. Fields challenged us with this question. Now we come to a final but equally important question regarding technology and consciousness that everyone on the spiritual path seems to ask themselves at some time or another. Is it possible to live in and utilize the products of modern industrial society without hopelessly compromising one's own spiritual development? What a great question. Do we use modern technology and compromise our own spiritual development? I believe that answer to that question is quite personal. How are you using technology? Do you spend so much time watching television or playing games on the computer or on your phone that you actually allow your spiritual practices to take a back seat and go by the wayside? Forgetting to meditate, forgetting to take time to live in gratitude for all that we have, forgetting to engage in small acts of kindness, failing to answer a call from a friend because you're too engaged in a book or don't want to be bothered. You get the idea. It truly is a question whose answer, as Bateman said, must come from the heart of the explorer. The truth is, we must learn to use technology responsibly. Here's what Fields wrote. If new technology creates new perils, it also creates new hope. The Industrial Revolution, for all its drawbacks, was a spiritually liberating force. Computer scientist Francis Jeffrey offers consolation. Technology and consciousness interact in ways that produce new consciousness, new technologies, and new possibilities for the future. Here are a few ways that technology is actually creating new hope. The Rainforest Connection is a project that takes old smartphones, encases them in solar panels, and purchase them high in trees to monitor and collect data about illegal logging in rainforest. The company wants to completely transform how we understand and use technology to solve global problems. And did you know that about 1/3 of the world's food is actually thrown away each year? So now there's a computer company, Crop Monster, that's harnessing the power of social media and mobile technology and revolutionizing how we deal with food waste. Crop Monster uses an online community and mobile alerts to connect farmers who have perishable surplus food to people who are willing to buy it. And one of my favorites, the Great Elephant Census. It's a project designed to provide accurate, up-to-date data about the number and distribution of savanna elephants across 22 countries in Africa. Elephants are in great danger of being poached to extinction, and the organizations are looking to ways to incorporate technologies like drones and high-tech collars to track and protect the animals. In my book, these are examples of how technology and spirituality are actually connected. Because I'm a geek who became a minister, I have a desire to marry my technological knowledge and make it useful in my counseling and my Sunday talks. So let me tell you a few ways that I actually discovered that technology has enhanced my spirituality. I use my phone to remind me throughout the day to pause and remember to be grateful for my life, for the fresh air, for my friends and family, or for whatever gratitude happens to pop into my mind at the moment. I record affirmations on my phone and listen to them every morning and night. Do you know the power of hearing your own voice say that you're a powerful being, or that you're loved, or you're someone in whom God is well pleased? Whatever affirmation you might want to use, it helps to shift the negative or less than thinking in your life to something that's much more positive. I use the internet to do research and to bring a sense of now to the information in my talks. I'm using technology right now to broadcast our messages. What would we have done during COVID without technology like Zoom or YouTube or Facebook? I use technology to bring me joy by communicating with those people in my life whom I love, like my grandkids. A message from a child or a grandchild is like a friend saying something to me in person. It's so uplifting. And if I need support, it's usually only a message away. Yes, the power of the land of text messaging. Fields asks us how much technology is too much. Well, he does provide some answers on how we can integrate our own spiritual consciousness with technology. One of his many suggestions is to ask ourselves, what is the most efficient way to meet our needs? Not just the fastest way or the easiest way. Perhaps we could all do more of that, or run our home errands using a bicycle if we can, rather than a car. And I love the questions that Field poses with regard to choosing a particular technology solution. He has a checklist which I think is still pertinent today. Is the task to be performed needed? Does the technology solution oppress someone else? Does the technology goal solution degrade the environment? Do the technology, materials, or fuel steal non-renewable resources from the future? In other words, will our great-grandchildren still have access to the same solution? Does the technological solution create negative byproducts or effects? Can the task be performed by available human energy? Does the solution create new problems? As we become more conscious of the repercussions of our uses of technology, we begin to face contradictions head on, and we learn to be more comfortable with what we do use. Field's words are as true today as when he first wrote them in the 80s. Every task, every problem has a vast array of possible solutions. As conscientious individuals, responsible for the effects of our living patterns, responsible to the future, and capable of making choices, we must not take the simplest, easiest, or quickest solution to be the best solution. Neither are we morally bound to forsake technology or treat it as inherently evil. Moderation and common sense will likely lead us to an appropriate balance. So how are you going to incorporate your spiritual practices with your use of technology? That's a great question for you to be asking yourself. How might you use technology to enhance your spirituality? And the next task you do with technology, are you going to think about those questions that we just read and see if it's really the best solution? Hey, I'm not going back to a manual typewriter, and I'm also not giving up my blenders, but I'm not going to necessarily use my blender to chop onions. Personal choices do play an impact. Think about how technology comes into your life and use Field's questions to use it appropriately. And so in summary, decide how you want technology to be part of your life. And remember, use technology to enhance your spiritual practices. Put reminders on your phone or record affirmations to listen to later. Make technology your friend. Solve your life's problems like solving a Rubiks Cube. Remember that all facets of life are connected. Learn to work with a higher perspective than a single facet. Use technology only when appropriate. Be aware that the quickest is not necessarily the best approach. Think about Field's questions when deciding whether to use technology solution rather than an old-fashioned one. Just because we have technology doesn't mean we have to use it. So here's your affirmation for the week. How is it that I so easily and willingly make the choice today to use technology to enhance my spiritual practice, to see myself as an explorer with answers coming from my heart, and to use technology wisely for the environment? So make a conscious choice this week to embrace technology as a God creation, to use technology as a tool only when appropriate, and to remember those words of Albert Einstein. When you always do what you have always done, you always get what you always got. Let's pray. So we just take a deep, nourishing breath and we settle into this time to just reflect on all the fabulous inventions that are part of God's creation, part of the things that are available to us here on earth. We connect with the divine that is living in, through, and as each of us, knowing that all of the wisdom and all of the love and all of the compassion that God is right there within us. And what I know to be the truth is that this week we will be more conscious of how we use our devices and how we use the technology that is available in our lives. I know that to be the truth for myself, and I know it to be the truth for every spiritually conscious person that is watching this. So I am so grateful. I'm grateful that we had this opportunity to take a different look of technology. Grateful that I had this opportunity to come into your home and be part of your life for a few minutes. And grateful that this message is truly about using technology to enhance our spirituality. So I'm so grateful that I'm releasing this into the law of mind, spirit, and action, knowing that it's already done, that God has already said yes. So I can just release it, let it be, say amen, and together we can affirm it, and so it is. I want to say how grateful I am for the technologies that allow us to continue to have money coming in, whether it be you writing a check and sticking it in the mail, or whether it be that you're using Zelle or Venmo or some other option for making a donation. I'm so very grateful to each and every one of you for all the ways that you contribute to this community. Enjoy our offertory song.